Today we are talking to one of the most important people that's around in Europe at the moment, you know, for BKFC. Lubomir, welcome at our digital studio. An honor for us to interview you at last. We know each other for a while, and I was very pleased to see that you have a big role in BKFC, Bare-Knuckle Fighting Championship. You're the growth director, so you're responsible of the growth of the organization in Europe. I've prepared some questions. As it started in 2018, I think, with David Feldman, that started the organization. How did you get in contact with them?
So in 2021, when I returned from Abu Dhabi, where I spent the last 10 years up to that point, I had the ambition to bring big organization in Bulgaria. I pioneered the Brazilian jiu-jitsu and the MMA market back in 2005, 2009 in Bulgaria. And then when I left to Abu Dhabi, that sort of left a vacuum. And I had this ego-driven ambition when I returned to put my name back on the board of martial arts here. So I contacted several organizations that I noticed are looking into expansion in Europe. And from my experience, I knew that typically Americans are looking at Europe as Germany, France, maybe Italy, you know, like Central European countries, not really paying attention to the Southwest or former East European countries, which is a massive market, and we all love fighting here. Society in general respects martial arts. So I did contact several organizations, and luckily BKFC was the only one that responded. And surprisingly, I received a phone call from David Feldman himself, who asked who am I, what I've done, what my past. And then he said that we're going to discuss. And then after a bit of vacuum, like no communication, I decided to go directly to Miami, meet him in person, attend one of the shows. And that's what I did. I went to Miami, I met David, and I watched the first BKFC event live for me. And I immediately became a fan. I also felt David liked me because I'm a former fighter, not just a promoter or a businessman. So there was an immediate some sort of chemistry between us. And then little by little, we started discussing the potential of doing events in Bulgaria and then growing outside of here into Europe. And that's how everything basically started.
Well, that's good news for you and for BKFC as well, because I know they are really doing big things in Europe, Italy. There's a big show coming up in Italy soon. There are big champions there. I know that BKFC tried here in Holland, but they were stopped by the gaming authority. I think it was a year or two ago. The Dutch people like fighting as well, you know, big into the kickboxing. The MMA is growing really fast at the moment. Do you see any expansion towards the Netherlands? Because there's much resistance here, or not for the fight fans, but the government is a little bit resisting about the brutal nature of the bare knuckle boxing. Do you see a future of it here as well?
To be honest, I think our first steps will be to step into markets that are welcoming us, markets that are trying to bring us there, hungry for us, because it doesn't make sense to try and penetrate a wall just to be on the market when there are other countries that have legalized the sport, that understand the benefits of it. They also understand that the damage is not as it possibly seems at a first glimpse. Yes, maybe a bit more bloody, but statistically much lower chances of being seriously injured as compared to MMA or regular boxing. So currently, I don't think Holland is on our list, or at least not until the legislation there allows us to step comfortably, or at least open discussions with promoters. We are looking at, no, we're not looking. We are going to Dubai on the 4th and 5th of April. We have plans to go to Brazil, South Africa, Philippines, possibly Hungary, Austria, and Germany. These are our immediate countries now that we're looking at. And yeah.
Well, I know, of course, you said there's a lot of blood. People see it as brutal. I interviewed a couple of years ago Bas Rutten, the big Dutch MMA UFC guy. He also told us, the injuries are not that bad. It looks bad, but you get more hurt wearing a boxing glove than doing bare knuckle.
Correct.
Me myself,
bare knuckle. I'm sorry.
No problem. Myself, I'm a big fan of BKFC and of bare knuckle. So I would like to see it here, because better today than yesterday. Because if you're a fight fan, I think you love the bare knuckle as well. Because if you see the beauty of the fighting, and I understand there are some walls, like you say, of course, to be crossed, and it's very smart of you guys, to go. Because if you just cross the border in the Netherlands, you go to Germany, there's bare knuckle, so we can watch in Germany, we can see bare knuckle on the local events. So a lot of fight fans don't understand why it's not allowed, but maybe in the future you got big news, because you're going to Dubai. You said I think I saw you somewhere in Cambodia as well on the internet.
Yes, we're also planning an event in Cambodia. Currently it's not on top of the list, and for the same reasons. Obviously, we are putting the countries on the map, and they become priority when we find a suitable partner and the infrastructure is there, and we work with someone who is professional. Obviously, that's the path of least resistance is what we're looking at. But Cambodia is on our list as well.
Well, we all know that there's a big man behind the BKFC, Conor McGregor, the UFC star. He put a lot of money into the organization. Is that an advantage for you guys?
So I not that I'm fully disclosing the amounts and whatnot, but the money part was not as essential as his image. Conor is still possibly the most recognizable face in the industry. He carries not only the fighting spirit or the image of a fighter, but he is a media icon, and that obviously opens a lot of doors for us. It brought more attention from the general public and from MMA fans. I think it was a good step towards increasing the publicity and the popularity of BKFC in a good way.
Yeah, because what you see on the social media is he is screaming for a fight himself. So everybody is waiting for him to step into the ring, because everybody thinks he's going back to the UFC. But I think a lot of people want to see him in BKFC as well, because, everybody, if you don't love his fight style, you're not a real fan, I think. But do you see that kind of stuff happening? More big names coming into the BKFC, like kickboxers that are obsolete in kickboxing, or MMA fighters that want to switch over?
Well, yeah, I mean, the main driving factor in the eyes of the athletes is possibly the shortest path to potential success. I think BKFC currently offers a much shorter career path towards potentially getting a belt, a title fight, or building a good career. The MMA market has become saturated. There are too many events. Promoters are now having more choice to bring fighters from the same country or nearby countries. Therefore, it became more regional, if you will, compared to 15 years ago, when in a card in Holland we can watch a Brazilian fighter, Japanese, Korean, fighters from different nationalities. And I think people now are looking at BKFC and recognizing what happened to the sport 15, 20 years ago. We're bringing this days back. The brutality, if you will, although it's actually a very technical aspect, because if your boxing is not good, you will not do very well in BKFC. There's no two opinions on it. You have to present a very high level of boxing skill in order to protect yourself and defeat the opponent. But then we are mixing nationalities and styles. We have former boxers, from former kickboxers, former MMA fighters, and whatnot. So I think we are bringing a little bit of that spirit of true challenge and merit behind the skill of the fighters. Let's see who is better, mixing different styles, different countries, again, to come up to the conclusion that this guy is the best in the world in that. So I think that's what fights what fighters recognize is the opportunity to build a career and to make money, obviously. And in the eyes of the fans, I think the rule set on its own and our production quality and the quality of the fights are what makes BKFC one of a kind. Obviously, there are many other bare knuckle boxing promotions. I think what makes us unique is a combination of factors. David Feldman's leadership, the fact that he alone was a fighter and a boxer, he's not just a promoter. That plays a big role because he treats people the way I also believe they should be treated in our industry. That helped him to build a team of like-minded individuals. Our approach towards international growth is choosing partners, not doing everything ourselves, not putting all the weight on our shoulders, and that makes them feel good. So it opens a lot of new territories, and with new territories come new opportunities for more fighters. And I think the combination of all of this is what makes us special.
Well, I think that's a clear message, because what you see is what you get with BKFC. You mentioned it already. You know, there's BIB, and in England, the bare knuckle is really big, of course, a big thing. We know each other from Belgium. We have a mutual friend of Belgium, Belgium, of course. I don't know about the regulations in Belgium. I think they're the same just here in the Netherlands. I don't know, but is that a possible country where you guys are looking at, maybe through, you say you work together with a promoter, or?
Well, so nobody has contacted us from Belgium yet. But like I said, we are very open. Our contacts are there. We are people that respond to everyone. And I'm only mentioning this because in 2021, when I was trying to contact organizations, they didn't even respond. I've messaged like more than 15 employees from a particular organization in LinkedIn, which is a business social media platform meant to connect people, and they just ignore you. So we're not operating like that. And anyone that has interest and can provide the 50% of the partnership, not financially, but as in skin in the game, we are open. Belgium, whatever, Belgium, Austria, Germany, any country where there is interest and potential and there is a reliable partner, we're open.
Well, I think that's a clear message to all the people that want to promote it, because I think the growth of more sports like bare-knuckle is going to grow, because here in the Netherlands, you know, the big kickboxing is big, but we have organizations like Glory. You know, it's a little bit, it's such, the fighters. You know, we're always the same fighters. It's always the same fights. That's also, you know, from the MMA. There are so local MMA guys, you know, that are growing. We're part of helping them. LFL, you know, we're really honored to do that because they have a lot of potential. You see a lot of fighters going over. You have a fighters app, I believe, where everybody can match up. Do you see in the app example requests for bare-knuckle, or is it still? Is there more requests for bare-knuckle? Big fighters coming in, you know, from all the countries that it's connected with.
Yeah, so typically in the app in Fight Scout we don't see big names, because anyone who's already has an established career knows that the direct approach is very easy. People know them, people recognize them, so for them it's much easier to approach any promoter and ask for a fight. But we do have a lot of requests because BKFC is officially partnering up with Fight Scout in the selection process of fighters, especially now going global. And we do have a lot of requests from fighters. We're also launching this separate event, which is going to be under the BKFC brand, but it's going to carry a different name. It's called the Baddest, and that will be an event with $25 million prize pool. So only on this, we have close to 8,000 requests currently from fighters that want to participate, and we haven't even announced the official process of approving or scouting for fighters. So the interest is there, and I think once we announce it, this is gonna triple up or quadruple up on the number of requests.
Yeah, I think so. With that big prize money, of course, that raises another question in my head. You know, because with kickboxing and MMA and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you have also the youth competing. You know, like under 18. Is that something that you say is going to happen maybe in bare-knuckle also, youth fights, or only the grown-up people, the adults? Is that something that you are looking at, to broaden the
that's
sport?
that's an interesting question. We have not discussed anything like this yet, but obviously, if the sport grows, if our popularity grows, youth is something that nobody in the industry should neglect. This is the future. Obviously, I don't think if bare knuckle as a rule set might be the best way to build young athletes, juvenile or teens, but maybe doing something with gloves as an amateur, maybe smaller gloves when they move closer to becoming an adult. That might be a good approach, but yeah, we haven't discussed anything yet. That's still something that we can consider in the future.
Well, I think there are a lot of chances for you guys, of course, and especially with the big names. We know Mike Perry. He is boxing. He was boxing at BKFC. He makes a lot of noise. He makes a lot of stuff on the social media.
Yeah.
It attracts a lot of attention. I think he even has his own boxing promotion called Dirty Boxing or something like that. So, in effect, those big names are really helping you guys coming to the broader, I think, huh? You have the big champions like Lorenzo Hunt and the guys. Are they really promoting the sport as well, in your opinion?
Oh yes, absolutely. They're all promoting the BKFC and they're all contributing to it. And I think in the very beginning, no organization can neglect the benefit of having names, big names, fighters fighting for them. That definitely takes you on the stage much faster. I think also, having said that, the BKFC is now at the point where the brand itself is recognizable, not necessarily the fighters. Meaning that in the new territories that we're going, we wouldn't probably need to have always a $1 million fighter on the card in order to fill the venue. I think especially in the new territories, the first time, which is something I experienced here in Bulgaria with our first event, we had 7,000 people in attendance, purely because it's something popular, new, very exciting rule set. So people just want to see what it is, regardless of who is fighting. Of course, we take a lot of attention into selecting the best possible fighters and the matchups, but I don't believe we are at the stage where we rely fully on the big name. I don't think that's the picture anymore.
Well, you mentioned you guys are going to Dubai and all those kinds of countries. There's a big hub, like just Bulgaria is now the hub for the BKFC. You see a lot of boxing happening there, in Dubai. Even one of our biggest champions here in the Netherlands, Rico Verhoeven from Glory Kickboxing, he is looking for a cross fight. They say a boxing match with Francis Ngannou. Could he compete with you guys? Would it be great if he would do a bare knuckle competition with BKFC?
Why not? Why not? It's not a light decision. I personally think that obviously every fighter who has done well, it'll be interesting for us to see him on different rule set against a fighter he never faced, playing on a rule set that is slightly different. But I think it goes deeper than that. It's the representation of what that means. Rico is such a well-rounded kickboxer who made an incredible career. If he's interested to fight in BKFC, I would personally think or ask him, what's the intent? Do you just want to try yourself, or you really want to achieve something in that new territory, something that you haven't experienced? And if the latter is the reason, then I think that speaks a lot, because we have a lot of requests from fighters that want to try BKFC. And I always say, we're not looking for fighters that just want to try it or make a quick buck on their name using the BKFC reputation for it. We are looking for people that want to achieve something, try a new challenge, if you will. So yeah, but obviously, if we're coming to Holland, for example, Enrico wants to be on the card even for one time, more than welcome, of course.
Yeah, well, he's a good boxer, you know. He's an excellent kickboxer, but he's
Yes.
a real good boxer as well, you know. He's got a good trainer. We talked
Yeah.
about the men, but there are a lot of women fighting also in BKFC, yeah? And yeah, they're just as mean as the guys. If you see them fight, you think, okay, sometimes they're even meaner. Um, we see that the women don't get a lot of attention in kickboxing and in boxing. It's also a little bit, but you guys do it different. You promote those women to fight. The big names, you see them fighting, you know. Is that
Well,
a
yes.
special thing that you say we want to promote the women more?
No, I wouldn't say that we take a different approach. I would say that we're treating women as equal as possible. They are respected fighters and they are the bravest of the women because the rule set does not allow you to close the distance and go into clinch, lie on the floor, and try to use MMA. The size of the ring also plays role because what I see in MMA, for example, the size of the cage allows both fighters to run around and chase each other, which leaves a big amount of the fight in no action. It's just running. Our rule set removes that from the equation, which makes it much more exciting. So the women fighting for BKFC are number one, very brave. Number two, they're all skilled, and women in general show more heart in the ring, in my opinion. You know, they don't give up easy. They don't give up easy.
No.
And I think the combination between their style and the fact that they go head to toe without wasting time, and the rule set being just a clean boxing rule set, it contributes to this exciting moment in the 2 minutes of the round, which is much shorter compared to 5. It's like a short shots of adrenaline that you take, and that keeps the audience happy. Once the audience is happy, these fighters receive the recognition and the attention, and we obviously do our best to promote them because they bring something back to us.
Well, that's good because you see a lot of women, you know, they want to fight and maybe they hesitate. You know, the talents are not coming up, and in BKFC that could be different. Um, you see a lot of big tournaments coming up, like Glory again. They have 32 fighters in a big tournament over the year. In the heavyweights, is there some kind of tournament format that you guys are looking at as well, or is it just one-on-one fights, or is it going to be a big tournament in the future, maybe?
That tournament that I mentioned, the baddest, that's the name for the 25 million prize pool. That's going to be a tournament. We're going to have a
Okay.
selection process across the world, gather the best X amount of fighters. I think it will be around 90 people with the reserves. And sorry, I'm on the street. And the tournament will be between, I think, 64 people. And everyone that wins their fight progresses to the next round. And at the end, we announce the baddest man on the planet.
Well, that's good, you know, because a lot of people call themselves the baddest
Yeah.
man. So it's going to be nice to see. One last
Well,
question.
this is our motto, man. Sorry.
No problem. Just say it because I'm
Yeah, go
curious
ahead.
of your motto.
Yeah, I was saying that this is our motto. We're not looking for the most technical, not the fastest, not the best. We're looking for the baddest. The person that wins that tournament can definitely claim himself and take on the title of being the baddest man in the world.
Yeah, I can imagine, you know, if you overcome all those people because they're all, you know, those big guys coming in and using the bare knuckle. One last
Exactly.
question. If we take a look into the future between now and 5 years, where do you see BKFC? Is it going to be on the, I think it's already there, but is it going to be on the high level like the UFC and all those guys, you know, with the big organizations there?
Absolutely. Our ambition is to be the number one, but obviously, but I don't think it's good to compare ourselves with UFC, or at least not in business sense. As long as UFC is on top, I think they help the entire industry thrive. But we're definitely looking at least the number two spot, possibly not in 5 years, possibly in 2 to 3 years. That's our ambition.
Well, that's a good ambition. Well, Lubomir, thank you for the interview. Is there some last thing you want to say to the people to get them excited for the bare knuckle? Is there something you can say to the fans worldwide?
I think the only thing that I would say is for anyone who hasn't watched an event, if you have the ability to visit a live event, do it, because it's different when you're watching it on your screen. The event really provides a different atmosphere compared to anything else that you've seen. And once you watch it, you really look at combat sports very differently. This is a very different rule set. It's really exciting. I promise most people will become immediate fans, because I myself have not watched fights for about 15 years, not a single event. And when I saw BKFC live, I became hooked on. It brought back the memory from the early years when combat sports had like a golden years, with Pride and the UFC in the beginning and K1. It brings back that same excitement, that same emotion. So I strongly recommend for anyone who thinks this is too brutal or too bad, just go and watch it. It's not as brutal. There's a lot of technicality involved. The fighters are very professional. The event production and everything is done on a very high level. So go watch it and talk about it after.
Well, that's a good one. I think we're going to keep the people up to date here in the Netherlands and Belgium for the event, so they can travel when they want to. Luba, thank you very much for this interview. I hope to visit you guys really soon in person to see it myself as well. For the fight fans, remember the words of Lubomir. Go and watch BKFC. Follow those guys on the Instagram. Follow Luba as well for the last news. Thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you for the invitation. We'll stay in contact.